The first 2 days or 3 days between being in the hospital and coming home was, I remember, like magical. You know, we got in the car, we were so excited. But very, very quickly there was a shift in Lindsay, and I could tell that there was a huge depression that had just set in. There's just confusion. You know, you wake up and all of a sudden this person that you knew is no longer there. Lindsay as a person kind of disappeared. So we didn't have a relationship for a long time because that was there. And I didn't feel like there was really any room. There was no room for me. It was everything that she was feeling and had to go through related to Hunter and the baby 100%.
دوستان به برنامه مامتاک خوش آمدید. برنامه‌ای که امروز براتون تهیه کردیم خیلی برنامه احساسی هستش و برنامه‌ای هستش که هزاران هزار مادر و خانواده رو کمک کرده و کمک رسانی در درجه‌ای بوده که خیلی از این عزیزان جونشون رو به اصطلاح برگردوندن یا به دست آوردن یا جونشون رو از دست ندادن. بنابراین برنامه بسیار بسیار مهمیه، درباره فیلم بسیار بسیار مهمی هستش و اینجا دو عزیزی که در این تهیه کننده این فیلم بودن و در این فیلم به اصطلاح قصه زندگیشون گویایی پیدا کرده و انعکاس داشته در تمام دنیا. این فیلم بسیار بسیار ارزنده When the Bow Breaks که تماشا میکنیم تریلرش رو برمیگردیم با این دو مادر بسیار گرامی صحبت مامتاکمون رو دنبال میکنیم. با ما باشید.
Motherhood can be exciting. It can be a blessing. It can be a dream come true. But for 1 in 5 new mothers, it can be something else entirely.
Oh, I guess something's really wrong.
Women all over the world suffer from this, and it can occur to anybody.
There's a lot of surprises, a lot of things that nobody can prepare you for.
This singular thought just kept playing in my mind, which was, this girl would be better off with another woman as her mother.
I want a baby my whole life, and all of a sudden I have her, and they bring her over to me, and I'm like frozen.
I was very quiet and withdrawn. I thought, well, I can't tell anybody my secret.
The sleep deprivation was starting to get to her, and she took her own life.
I put a pillow over her face and just held it there until she stopped struggling.
How do we help these women from going through this?
That's why we're doing this, to educate.
We have a chance to make a difference and maybe save someone's life.
I felt like it was my fault because I didn't educate myself more.
Part of the depression is the guilt that goes along with it.
There's still so much stigma.
I think people forget that mental health is a sickness of the brain.
It's a huge issue that is not discussed.
We weren't made aware of all the risk factors, and Kelly actually had a lot of them.
Doctors are seeing more patients. It's easy for people to slip through the cracks.
When you hear about these things, and you hear about how many red flags were up, it's shocking that we don't look at postpartum as something that's legitimate.
Everybody keeps a lid on it because of shame or fear or judgment, but it's amazing when you share how many stories you'll hear back.
It's so scary when you're in it, but it does shift.
Like, wow, I'm not the only one. I'm not the first. I won't be the last.
I'm proud of her for speaking up. That takes a lot of strength.
If my wife's death can result in the prevention of other deaths, at least it wasn't in vain.
To be able to change the course of someone's life by just sharing my story, you can't even put it into words.
دوستان فیلمی رو که مشاهده کردین When the Bow Breaks که اگر بخوایم به اصطلاح ترجمهش بکنیم تنه درخت وقتی که میشکند و یا موقعی که در زندگی دیگه به آخرین درجه آخرین لبه به اصطلاح پرتگاه رسیدیم و این خب نکته‌ای هستش که در این فیلم دربارش صحبت میشه در رابطه با mental health بهداشت روح و روان درباره motherhood به اصطلاح مادر شدن و compassion شفقت و تهیه کننده این فیلم و کسانی که مادرانی که در این فیلم قصه زندگیشون رو باز کردن و نه تنها قصه زندگیشون رو باز کردن بلکه به دنبال به اصطلاح معنا و کانکشن و کمک رسانی به دیگران مادران دیگری که در همین لحظه که ما داریم این برنامه رو تماشا می‌کنیم شاید افسردگی دارن شاید دچار افسردگی هستن و نمیدانند که چگونه کمک بگیرند و یا با چه کسانی رابطه برقرار بکنن که اونها رو بتونن کمک بکنن. این موضوع داغ امروز ما هستش MomTalk. It's a pleasure to have you ladies on MomTalk. Welcome Lindsay and Tanya.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's so important to share this very, very significant message, the integration that you've had with mental health, compassion, motherhood, building a community that really has influenced and helped so many mothers who are suffering.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. I mean, it's such an important conversation to have constantly.
Yes.
We cannot stop talking about this because it's that important.
Yeah. Tell us about the journey. How did it start? We witnessed your husband having the courage to share the story and opening up your homes and your life story to millions of people and the impact that that vulnerability has had for millions of families. And so when that happens, I think it's a witness to encouraging others to take that risk, encouraging others to maybe look deeper within their relationships and to question, you know, if you're a man, if you're a dad, you know, am I doing enough? Am I coming alongside my wife? Am I being compassionate enough? So it's really a beautiful thing to connect, and this is what MomTalk is all about, you know?
Yeah, and I think that, you know, as the film has been released, you know, we've noticed from so many people that by sharing our stories, it's opening up for other people that would have never admitted, you know, any mental health issue, any issues they're going through, because we live in the society where you post beautiful pictures on Facebook and, you know, you want everyone from your past to see you having this beautiful life now. But the reality is that, you know, we do suffer from so many different things in life, and so it's so important to be honest. And what happens when we're honest is that other people open up and it becomes like, you know, now we're in the real world. Now we're able to talk. Now we're able to work through our issues. And I think, you know, with my husband sharing, I think so many men are so proud and they don't want to, you know, like show anything other than the superhero complex. And by Brad opening up and sharing, you know, his pain, you know, with what I was going through and what he was going through because of my suffering, you know, it really opens up this huge discussion that must be had.
Yeah. A real one, right?
Yeah. Well, I also think too, a lot of men are perhaps not as in touch with their feelings as women, and men are taught to power through, to fix it, and now they're looking at their wife who just had their beautiful child and they can't fix her. And that's very scary for a man, I'm sure, internally, and that can cause its own onset of depression as well. So I think it's very important to acknowledge that it's not just women who go through postpartum depression, but it's also men.
That's right.
There's been a study, I mean, there's many studies that go on and it changes constantly, but right now, the latest I read is 1 in 10 men are suffering through what it's called paternal postpartum depression. And so it's becoming more common, and the more they open up and talk about it, you know, the more, I'm sure, the higher numbers, you know, will be.
Yeah, and if you think of it, the more attuned you are, if you have an attuned marriage, if you are in a very intimate relationship, it must impact your mental health, right? I mean, we experience this with our children when they're going through regressions or suffering. It influences us or impacts us, and vice versa. And so it's a parallel growth process, and I think to take that risk to open up, because like you say, many men, and especially in our culture. I know men have the machismo, that pride, you know, they're the caretaker, the provider, they're the strong person. But the good news is, this is what I'm noticing in my practice, and just speaking to, connecting to some of you, perhaps in Iran, or some of you viewers watching across our borders, that this new generation, men are more vulnerable, and men and women in general, right? I think we are more vulnerable. We're able to open up and share and not be afraid and not want to be the superhuman that perhaps we have been told we need to be.
Right. Yeah, and think about what opening up does to your marriage too. You know, because I know my husband's interview and my son's interview were the only two that I wasn't there for, and when I saw my husband's interview, it opened up this discussion. I was like, oh, okay, it's not just about me. I'm not the only one suffering here. Right. Because for so long it was me being in pain, and why isn't he treating me the way I should be treated, and you know, like why am I suffering so much? But when I saw his interview, I was like, oh. And his interview, I think, pretty much saved our marriage.
Oh, wow.
I really do. And we talk about it now because it really, you know, it brought empathy, you know, to him, and you know, it made me see him in a different light.
So instead of thinking, you know, he's not available, then you're in a space where you're witnessing the suffering that he's going through, and then that empathy helps cultivate more intimacy.
Because I always saw him as being just angry at me, you know, but he was going through, he was going through such a hard time too. And so it really, so imagine what it does, you know, the more men that open up, and share their story. And so what that can do to a couple's relationship, and, you know, talking and being honest.
Well, I also think there's so much pride with men, because also too, my husband definitely suffered a form of depression, and I became completely disconnected my own postpartum depression. And at one point, I went to therapy because I knew something was really wrong. And I said, I'll never forget him like standing across the counter. He goes, do you not love me anymore? And I said, no, I do, but I can't fix me, and I can't fix you. And I need you to come to therapy with me. And if you don't, I can't promise that we're going to make it. And he was like, whoa. And so he did, to his credit. He came enough times that I think he got the information he needed. I got the information I needed. But men have an incredible amount of pride and want to just keep acting like everything's fine. And even when we did the documentary and I gave my testimony, and my testimony was very raw, and I'll never forget my husband going, you can't have that in the film, you have to take that out. And I had this like, and I thought, but I can't. That's why I did the film, because women need to know that these are actual thoughts and things that happen, but it doesn't make us horrible human beings. It is a mental illness at that time that you can move on from. But it's very interesting. That was his, like, because it becomes about looking good. No offense.
Right. But that's so true. I mean, it's like that, but that's the norm.
It is.
That is the norm.
And like, you can't blame him, or you know, it's like, that's totally normal for him to feel that way, because you know, that's the society we live in.
And he wants to protect the family unit.
I mean, even the fact that he's been okay with you moving forward with the film, I mean, that initial courage is not normal. That's more courageous than many dads or many men we know.
Absolutely.
And so, but it is a learning, it's a peace learning process. It's like step by step, and testing your comfort and taking those chances and taking those risks.
And I think when you make a film like this, you kind of go all in or all out, you know, it's like, you know, like when we were filming, I was like, we're just filming, you know, who knows what's going to happen to this, you know, so I'll just speak and share, and my husband will speak and share, and oh my God, they're interviewing my 6-year-old son. Okay, what is he going to say? You know, but you don't, you know, it's like, okay, so now it's out, and what do you do with it? You know, you're open and honest, and now you can't go back in, and you can't hide now, so
That's right.
you just keep going and keep sharing.
That's right. Well, let's take a Farsi pause, a Farsi break. I like to translate such important points. در رابطه با این فیلم بسیار بسیار مهم و ارزشمند برای شما دوستان که اگه تهیه نکردین رو آمازون میتونین فیلم رو تهیه کنین. Is it available on Amazon? Okay. Amazon, Netflix. بنابراین فیلم رو اگر ندیدین میتونین تهیه بکنین و ببینین. بسیار بسیار جالب هستش به خاطر اینکه مادرانی هستن که در رابطه با افسردگی بعد از زایمان قصه زندگیشون رو با شما عزیزان باز میکنن و مطرح میکنن. بنابراین ریسکی که برداشتن به صورت داکیومنتری، به صورت این فیلم مستند در رابطه با اینکه چه اتفاقی برای زندگی زناشوییشون افتاده، همسر لینزی که در ابتدای برنامه صحبت میکرد و مصاحبه باش کرده بودن در رابطه با افسردگی خودش و ناراحتی‌های خودش که تجربه میکرد صحبت میکرد و اینکه نمیشناخت زنش رو دیگه و اینکه چقدر مهمه که وقتی که شوهران و مردان هم در این دوران بحرانی دچار ناراحتی و مشکل و مشکلات روحی روانی میشن بتونن کمک بگیرن و بتونن این قدرت و این شهامت رو و این شجاعت رو داشته باشن که دربارش حداقل حرف بزنن و نه اینکه همیشه همه چیز خوب و شاد و خوب هستش، بلکه وقتی ما در اون روابط نزدیکی که هستیم، وقتی که میشینیم شاید مهمونی‌های کوچیک‌تر یا گرد همایی‌های دوستانه مادرانه یا پدرانه، دوستای مردا به خصوص در ایران شاید بیشتر با هم دوست دارن صحبت بکنن و گفتگو داشته باشن، خانوما با هم دیگه، ولی صحبت‌های مهم و اساسی رو بکنیم، نه تنها فقط پوز بدیم یا بگیم که چه اتفاقای خوب افتاده و چه اتفاقای خوشحالمون میکنه، بلکه در رابطه با مشکلات و ناراحتی‌هامون هم صحبت بکنیم. این تعادل برقرار کردن در گفتمان، در گفتگو، در روابط مادرانه و پدرانه ما میتونه خیلی ما رو کمک بکنه در پیشرفتمون، در ارتقاء conscious living، اون چیزی که امروزه همه دنبالش هستن و میخوان خوشحالتر و خوشنودتر و شادمانتر زندگی کنن، شادمانی در افکار و رفتارشون. It's such an important point and you've taken a risk. You've brought your crafts from creativity, from production, from film, from just let your life story, your narrative, sharing your narrative to the public, millions and anyone who's watched this film. And you have a Facebook page that you are constantly in touch with these people,
yeah,
parents.
Our Facebook page is When the Bell Breaks, a documentary about postpartum depression. You have to be really careful because I've learned that there are a lot of copy sites, but ours is the one with the most amount of likes.
Okay.
So,
yeah, it's good to know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the black and white picture.
Okay.
Of me and my son on that you'll see.
But we'll put it up on MomTalk as well. So if you want to, if you're interested in this material, become a member and join the Facebook page.
Yeah, and I'm on it pretty much all day because it's that important to me. Because since the release of the film, there's so many people that want to connect and share their story and just, you know, kind of just say thank you for opening up and you know, want to be in touch and know that they're not alone. And so I write everybody back. It's really important to me, and if you need guidance, if you need help, if you need resources, I can help provide that for you. And what we do is we post a lot of people's stories that thousands of people can relate to, that you didn't even know. Like, you post a story and someone's like, I never shared that. I went through the same thing. I never shared it because I was ashamed because I didn't think anybody else would understand what I was feeling. And
I've read those stories and I love them.
Isn't it wonderful?
It's so real. It's wonderful. It's such a refreshment. It's refreshing.
It is. Yeah. And we're also on Instagram as well, and Lindsay will post like memes of different outtakes of the stories, things, and I think it really helps people to read it and relate instantly, and then it allows them the safety to open up.
Yeah, Instagram is BellBreaksDoc, and what we're doing now is where we asked people to share and tag us, and then we reshare their story, which has really been incredible. Even the last few days when we posted this picture of my son and I, and, you know, share your story, and like we're getting tons of shares, and it's just like it opens my heart to see so many people saying, this is the first time I'm sharing this. You know, I hope you don't judge. I hope you know, and they were just being honest and open, and then we're sharing it. And you know, yesterday I got this message from somebody that says, I've never shared my story, but I want to reach as many people as possible. And so I'm going to post it on my Facebook page, but you know, I only have 100 people. I was like, well, if you share it on ours, you'll have 19,000 people seeing it. And that just like, they're just like, wow, you know? And I send them just the statistics of how many people see, how many shares, how many likes, the comments, you know, so I follow up with everybody so they can see how many lives they're touching.
That is so beautiful. That the type of passion and impact and peace learning leadership that you're just part of, and you've been following with your passion, it's just phenomenal. And for those of you who have not seen this film or documentary, I encourage you to watch it, and then share your life stories, your own life stories, and you can share on Instagram or Facebook. And what's the hashtag for? Is there a hashtag for Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, you tag us at BowelBreaksDoc.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, well, it's easiest to tag us on Facebook with our, you know, put our link.
Okay.
And so I can find it, because anytime we're shared, I look.
Got it.
And then for Instagram, you just tag us with the BowelBreaksDoc.
Awesome.
And Bow being B-O-U-G-H, not B-O-W.
That's right. Yeah. Great. Great. So دوستان در رابطه با افسردگی بعد از زایمان صحبت می‌کنیم و اینکه چقدر مهمه که قصه زندگیتون رو یا اون درد و دلتون رو با مادرای دیگه که این تجربیات داشتن انجام بدین. روی فیسبوک این فیلم گروه خودشو داره، 19,000 فالوورز یا کامیونیتی هستش که بسیار وسیع هستش و اگر قصه‌ای دارین، داستانی دارین، اگر می‌خواین کانکشن برقرار بکنین، نتورک بکنین و این کامیونیتی رو جوین بکنین، به فیسبوک پیجشون برین. روی MomTalk LA هم ما این رو پست خواهیم کرد و در رابطه با اینستاگرام هم میتونین قصه خودتون رو با عکسی، با داستانی شیر بکنین و تگ بکنین این گروه رو و قصه شما به هزاران نفر به اصطلاح میرسه و با اونها میتونین کانکت بکنین. خیلی رابطه خوبی هستش وقتی که شما میتونین از طریق سوشال میدیا اون کانکشنای دل به دل و روابطی که شاید این دوستی ها هیچ وقت نمیدونین به کجا خواهد رسید، با یه مادر دیگه‌ای که اون تجربیات رو داشته شما کانکت میکنین و این یه دوستی میشه که شاید برای شما خیلی هم خوب و پرمعنا باشه. These online friendships are always so sweet, you know, and you never know. I have had people who connected from all the way from Iran to someone here on the other side of the world, and they write and say, you know, it's been so wonderful. We share stories, we have our laughs, you know, they are connected. So it's wonderful.
I would love to share stories, you know, from other cultures especially. I think it's so important because, you know, we live in our little world and there's so much more out there. So please send us your stories.
That's right. And even if you do it in Farsi, I think it's worthwhile because guess what? Your post might reach other moms who speak Farsi, like myself, and other moms who can listen to you and hear your story. So don't hold back. If you have a story to tell, اگه داستانی دارین، قصه‌ای دارین و میخواین داستان خودتون رو، داستان مادر دیگه‌ای رو ویدیویی تهیه بکنین یا بنویسین دربارش، این رو حتما شیر بکنین رو فیسبوکشون و در این کامیونیتی چندین زبان صحبت میکنن. I know your film has been translated to many languages.
Yes.
Right? Is it translated in Farsi yet, or you're still?
It's subtitles. It's not translated. So no, it's German, French, Spanish.
German, French, Spanish.
I think there's a couple more.
No, just German, French, Spanish, and English.
به زبان آلمانی، به زبان فرانسوی و به زبان اسپانیایی. بنابراین اسپانیایی، فرانسوی و آلمانی این سابتایتل ها نوشته شده. به زبان فارسی هم شاید به زودی انجام بشه. شاید ما با دوستان همکاری بکنیم و این کار رو براشون بکنن که شما در ایران بتونین این فیلم رو تماشا بکنین و لذت ببرین. و در رابطه با رابطه خودتون در خانواده، اون پیس لرنینگ و ارتقاء صلح‌جویی یا پرورش صلح یه قدم مثبتی برداشته باشین. It's wonderful. It's such a great project for you to have integrated the awareness of mental health, the awakening of healthy relationships, and just having the courage to share your vulnerability, your story.
Well, and especially Lindsay's story, Jamie Lynn, as we went through the process and we met Lindsay, especially Jamie Lynn said, we would need to follow her because she really does have quite a journey, and you may want to touch on that a little bit. But it really shows, I think that's when women, she's touched so many lives, more so than anyone else in the film, because they're like, oh my gosh, this is what she's gone through, and she's sharing it consistently and so openly. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Well, you know, when we decided to follow my story, at the time my son was 6 years old, he's 9 now, and I was still suffering so much. And the reason why was because I thought I knew what postpartum depression was, but I definitely was not educated enough, because I, you know, was taking medication and sometimes went to therapy, and that's what you're supposed to do. But it wasn't enough for me, because everybody has their own something that works for them, and I didn't find mine. And so since we decided to film my journey, I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to get better. Let's see how I can get better. And so, you know, we went through everything from old video clips, you know, which showed major struggles, and you know, finding out I was pregnant, all the way to, you know, like being with Hunter and just having a really hard time. And I did some iPhone clips where I was on my way to appointments and I was scared, and I did some treatments that really were frightening to do. And I did it because I wanted two reasons. I wanted to see if it helped me, and I wanted people to see their different options. And it was really important to us to show all these different treatment options that there were, because everybody has a different thing that works for them. So
can you share a couple of those treatments with us?
Absolutely. One of them that I really liked was EMDR. And it's a certain kind of therapy do
you know what it stands for?
I did.
No,
it's
because
a rapid eye movement.
Yes.
Yes. I've heard of this helping in many different situations other than postpartum.
Yeah, so it helps a lot with trauma and PTSD. So I had severe trauma from the delivery of my son, because it was so just like long and tedious and painful. And you know, I talk about it a little bit in the film. But so the EMDR, you know, you follow his stick, and he's talking to you, and you start talking, and you're able to process in a way that just normal thinking you wouldn't be able to do. That was super helpful for me. And I'm actually struggling now with some trauma that from the past that I'm going to go back to EMDR to work with, because sometimes you need touch-ups.
Absolutely.
And you know, the way EMDR works with this rapid eye movement integration is integration. So by having the right left brain stimulation while you're processing, you are able to integrate. But it sounds like your sort of sweet spot was integrating through storytelling and through film and through this journey that you took, because that's massive integration. They always say, you know, writing a book, producing a movie, telling your story, doing all those things, creative activities are great ways to integrate. And so working through and reaching out others who would benefit from your suffering was sort of your sweet spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
another thing I did was TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. And that was the most painful thing I went through, the most expensive thing I went through. I thought my insurance was going to cover it, and it didn't. And it did not work for me, but I have heard that it does work for some people. So I think it's newer, and I wanted to do it because I had hopes. And I also wanted to show people that it's an option. You know, and again, it does work for some people, but, you know, I said in the film that this is so painful. If this works, then, you know, I'll be so happy that I did it. And if it doesn't work, I'll be devastated. And unfortunately for me, it did not work.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, but it's an option. You know, when you're going through such a hard time and you're reaching out and you're trying to find something that works for you, you know, you'll try anything. You know, and you'll go to the pits of your bank account to figure out, you know, something that works for you.
در رابطه با افسردگی صحبت میکنیم، درمانهای مختلف افسردگی و افسردگی بعد از زایمان. شیوه های درمانی بسیاری هستش. من مطمئن هستم در ایران هم همینطور هستش، از جمله شاید Cognitive Behavioral Therapy، از جمله EMDR، شیوه های درمانی که شاید به دفتر روانشناس میرین یا روانپزشک میرین، اونها با شما از طریق گفتار درمانی کار میکنن، یا مدیکیشن، دارو درمانی که اون روانپزشک معمولا این رو تجویز میکنه. و میدونم خب در ایران قرص و دارو درمانی بسیار رایج هستش. In Iran, the prevalence of psychopharm or taking medications for depression is extremely high, and so that's usually the first method of treatment, first line of defense. And so I'm not sure about the other options that perhaps we might have available here. It's a little more limited. However, it's great that you had this open mind and you were willing to explore and be curious and also very aware and conscious. It sounds like you were conscious about all those choices, options, and exploring it, and just being honest about whether it's working for you or not.
I think the main thing that comes out of it is for me to share with people that just don't stop until you find what works for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether you have the financial resources or not, something is going to work for you, and you keep going until you find what works for you. And I also think that with our stories being in it, they're so different, and our treatments were so different, and what worked for her, and what worked for me are so different. So I think that's really important to have in the film and to show it as well, because she went the holistic route, and
I was fortunate it worked.
Yeah.
Very fortunate. Yeah, and it's amazing because when I chose, because everyone wanted to put me on pharmaceuticals, and it just for me was not the path I wanted to take. And listen, had the homeopathic not worked, would I have done it? Absolutely, because it's most important to find a way to help yourself. But I was very lucky. I was put on 5-HTP and rosehip oil, and he said it will take about 2 weeks, like a Prozac. And I'm telling you, it was almost 2 weeks to the day. Standing in my kitchen, looking out the window, and all of a sudden I went, I think I'm okay. And from that point on, there was improvement. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I still have my days where I can go through depression. I just had an incident recently. My daughter got braces. Her mouth was in massive pain. She did.
Hunter's getting
pink
braces.
and blue. Very cute. But she was in massive pain. It was cutting her mouth. And I ran to CVS. I didn't know if I should do Advil or Tylenol. And I ran at the pharmacist, and she was opening up, so she kind of snapped at me, and it wasn't about me, but it triggered in me. I started sobbing, and it triggered this helplessness of like, I don't know what to do. I just want to help my baby, and it reminded me very much of the postpartum depression that I'm like telling the pharmacist, "You're not nice. I'm just trying to help my daughter." And she's looking at me. She's like, "You're having a bad day." I'm like, "No, I'm not." I'm just like standing there crying. So I went, "Oh,
but that's so common. That's so common. It happens to me every day."
Right? So you realize like this, you learn how to live with what we have, and it's so much more normal than people realize, and we have good days and bad days. And I think one of the biggest keys is when any of us is having a really bad day or rough day, to also keep in mind, okay, I've had good days too. This too shall shift. This isn't permanent, because when you're in postpartum depression, it feels very, very permanent.
Well, what I tell people, and what I did, and I'm so grateful that I did, is I took a lot of pictures. And when you look at the pictures, and I opened the box, in the film of my son, when he was a baby, and all these different things I kept, and pictures and everything, and you're like, oh, I was smiling there. I had a good moment. That was a good day. His first birthday, we celebrated. That was a good day. But when if you don't do that, and you don't write, and you don't, then you think back and you're like, oh God, it's been 10 years of just awful, And then when you look back, you're like, no, I had a good moment. I've had good times. It's not all just this dark, place that I've been in. And I think that's so important to realize.
Very important, those simple reminders. در رابطه با اون لحظات حساسی که شاید بعدها ما ریفلکت میکنیم، دربارش فکر میکنیم، و در اون لحظات به خودمون یادآوری میکنیم که اوقات خوش، اوقات شاد، اوقات موفق، اوقاتی که در رابطمون با فرزندمون، با همسرمون اوقات شادی رو تجربه کردیم هم بوده. و لنزی به این نکته اشاره میکنه که داشتن این کتابچه هایی که اسکرپ بوک میکنین یا اوقات طلایی رو، اوقات مهم رو نگه میدارین برای خودتون در دفترچه خاطراتتون بسیار میتونه کمک بکنه، چرا که موقعی که فرد دچار افسردگی هستش، افسردگی به اصطلاح نه خفیف بلکه شدیدتر، اون اوقات اون لحظات شاد به ذهنش نمیاد و یادآوری نمیتونه بکنه و اگر یک ریمایندر، دفترچه خاطره‌ای داشته باشه میتونه که اون مودش رو، حالتش رو عوض بکنه. I feel like as women, as moms, you know, in our mom community, also it's our social responsibility to sort of be attuned and pay attention. And I know you ladies do a great job at it. I know your group, I know you're very conscious, you're aware, you're compassionate and also self-compassionate. But isn't it a good reminder to our viewers and moms, especially Middle Eastern women and you women out there, we need to look after each other and really, you know, lift each other up.
Well, I think it's very important because I also feel too when we're going through rough times, we tend to introvert and shut down, and then it becomes very frightening. And it's really great to be able to say, I'm not doing well right now. And for someone to go, I'm so sorry, do you want to talk about that? Or try and make some, connect, laugh. You know, and you had mentioned back to school, summertime can be a very challenging time for moms, especially if you have a child who's going into school, you have a new baby, you're expected to take care of everyone and keep them busy, and summer's supposed to be magical because we're building memories, and if you feel like you're falling short of that, I think it's very important during this time, and as children are going back to school, to find a moment to take care of yourself. Whatever that looks like. Go to breakfast with a girlfriend when you drop your kids at school, and you can say, oh my God, that was rough. You know, whatever you have to say, but talk about it. Find a community that you feel safe with.
That's right.
Well, they talk about how important it is to have like a mom tribe, you know, where it's people that you can just open up and be yourself with. And I'm so grateful that since my son has been in school that I've had that. And my friends know that like if I come into school with the hat, you know, covering my eyes, that I'm just not in a good place, and they know, you know, to kind of, you know, like
gather around.
And it's so important. It's important to have that group of you know, women to speak to and have, you know, share your common stories and open up and not just live in that false Facebook world of pretty pictures, because, you know, this is reality.
It is.
You know, it's like when I saw Tanya, I haven't seen her in a while, I'm just like, I'm not doing well today. You know, it's just like because I'm comfortable to share that with her. Because, and it's so important to have that safety net with the mom tribe.
Oh, I love that. And I love just being in your presence, just being here and witnessing the intimacy in your relationships and how you're supportive of each other and how you're not competitive and how you're compassionate towards each other. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank
yeah,
you,
what a
Dr.
joy
Nelly.
to have on Mom Talk. Yay! We love Mom Talk. So we're talking about postpartum depression, When the Bow Breaks film. If you haven't seen it, I think a really nice way to celebrate back to school is have a mommy night out, get the movie, and just go and sit down and watch it together and share stories. And if you know a friend who just had a baby or someone who's pregnant and expecting, or a family who's perhaps going through this postpartum depression, reach out and help them and have a little gathering or a bigger gathering or whatever type of gathering. Just continue this conversation because it adds to raising consciousness within our communities, and that's what our peace learning journey is all about. It's peace learning, living one step at a time, and we're all in it together. So thank you so much for sharing this beautiful, beautiful story. I know that going back to school is not easy. I personally have mixed feelings about it.
I do too.
Yeah,
because
I do too.
we've had these little ones for so long now, and we've had wonderful times and hard times and growth experiences, but it's also a transition. So we you know, and they feel it, don't they?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they're already like feeling the transition. They're getting ready. It's almost like you can hear their engines ramping up.
I just don't know what I'm going to do. Like, he's going to have to go to bed on time.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like, that's stressing me out.
Yeah, right? The 10:30 bedtime.
Oh, my God.
Forget 10:30. He's still reading at that time.
Yeah. God, no. And it's so funny, or if I say, I need you to go work on your reading, or that, just start getting her prepared for the next grade. And it's like, what do you mean? Yeah. I said, no, can I watch YouTube? No.
But this is so fun.
Yeah.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and for us, on one hand, I'm excited because when everything's on schedule and routine,
Yes.
I love that. And
But can we just start a little later?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I don't mind a little later. Yeah, I can push it another month. Absolutely.
Well, one thing I want to say, too, is I know how much Lindsay loves her son. I know how much I love my daughter. When you are experiencing postpartum, it's a very frightening place because you may feel like, oh, I'm never going to connect with my child. I promise you, if you don't have that feeling now, it will come. I look at my daughter and I'm constantly going, can you please not grow up? Can you please stay little? I just want to hold you and love you and cuddle you. And it's the most amazing journey. It truly is. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade anything I've gone through, the pain in the beginning, based on what I have now. It is all so worth it. So if you are experiencing any type of postpartum depression, baby blues, hang in there, find that support, get help. I promise you there are better days to come.
All right, so join the Facebook community, join the Instagram community, just watch the film, create your own tribe. Just keep the conversation going. برای شما دوستانی که از ایران با ما هستین یا در به اصطلاح خاورمیانه با ما هستین، توصیه این هستش که فیلم رو تماشا بکنین. اگر که به زودی این فیلم رو با زیرنویس تهیه خواهیم کرد و میتونین با دوستان تماشا بکنین و گفتگو رو در این رابطه ادامه بدین. همین که امروز این برنامه رو تماشا میکنین و دربارش با دوستتون صحبت میکنین و میگین میدونستی که پستپارتم دپرشن از هر 4 نفر، از هر 10 نفری که به اصطلاح بچه دار میشن 4 نفرشون میتونه این به اصطلاح افسردگی رو داشته باشن و چگونه میشه کمک کرد به اون مادران و چگونه میشه یادآوری کرد که این به اصطلاح موقت هستش و با هوشیاری، با آگاهی، با اندیشمندی برخورد کردن با این موضوع در خانواده میتونین صلح و به اصطلاح آرامش رو در خانوادهتون مهیا بکنین. میدونم که به لحظات یا اوقاتی رسیدیم که بچه‌ها و خانواده‌ها دارن هیجان زده هستن برای برگشتن به مدارس و باز شدن مدرسه‌ها، آغاز سال نو و در این رابطه داشتیم میگفتیم که بچه‌ها خب باید روی مسائلی مثل برگشتن به ساعت خواب زودتر، شاید یه مقدار توجهشون بیشتر به خوندن و نوشتن و مشق و مدرسه و اینکه خلاصه برای مادر و پدرام مشکل هستش که برگردیم روی اون اوقات و اون اسکیجولی که شاید در دوران مدرسه بسیار متفاوته با تابستان. الان در اواخر تابستان هستیم و در این اواخر تابستان میتونیم از کارهایی که انجام بدیم این که با هم آمادگی داشته باشیم. I think one part of the end of summer, the nice transition is sort of having a happy ending. Those gatherings where we kind of, celebrate, share our stories, talk about our travels, reconnect, and also share the vulnerable moments. Like if we're having a tough time with the transition or our kids are, struggling, I think it's so beautiful. It's such a nice downtime to just stay, present and let everything else go and just allow that room to bring us the joy of, what we experience throughout summer.
I always try to have an end of the year pool party and a beginning of the year pool party.
Awesome.
To kind of have an exciting ending and an exciting beginning, where the kids can just get together and get excited for the next step.
I love it. So there you have it. این پول پارتی ها، گدرینگ ها، خانواده ها که با هم جمع میشن در اواخر تابستان میتونه خیلی کمک بکنه چرا که قصه های تابستانی رو میتونین با هم شیر بکنین. در رابطه با postpartum depression و postpartum blues در این فیلم مهم When the Bow Breaks صحبت میکنیم. مواقعی که بعد از بچه دار شدن، بعد از زایمان، دوران بحرانی هستش در خانواده. One story that comes up often in especially our community because the grandparents are very involved right after birth.
Okay.
So, for example, from the hospital, there's always this struggle or conflict, this tension with the mom wanting to bond with the baby versus the mother-in-law or even the mom, you know, the grandma, the daughter's mom.
Correct.
Wanting to hold the baby and take the baby and make those decisions of whether they should nurse or not nurse. And so that's a cultural struggle for many moms that I talk to that contribute sometimes to the postpartum blues and depression.
It would for me.
Yeah.
I could totally understand that.
Yeah, we constantly talk about how, you know, like for the person that's having the baby and for their partner to make sure that you have a plan in place and that if you're suffering, you know who's going to come into the hospital room, if you want visitors, you know, everything like that, because it has to, I mean, that absolutely can lead to issues down the line.
There you go. برای شما دوستان عزیزان که شاید حامله هستین و به زایمان، روز زایمان نزدیک میشین، خوب و مهم هستش که یه برنامه، یه پلن بارداری یا در دوران زایمان داشته باشین، چرا که در این اوقات اگر اون خواسته ها و اون نیازهای مادر و پدر صورت نگیره، این خودش میتونه مشکل به وجود بیاره و منجر به افسردگی و یا postpartum depression یا postpartum blues بشه. میدونم خیلی از اوقات مادر و پدرانی که در آفیس خود من میان و گله‌مند هستن میگن مثلا مادر شوهر من یا مادر زن من بچه رو زیادی بغل میکنه یا دستاشو نمیشوره به بچه نوزاد دست میزنه و یا در مواقعی که من میخوام شیر بدم به بچه میاد و دخالت میکنه یا اصلا میگه که شیر برای چی میخوای شیر سینه بدی، شیر فرمیلا بده. و در این موارد هستش که اون بخشی که شاید روحانی هستش یا بخشی که مهم هستش برای باند کردن، برای دلبندی مادر با بچه، با نوزاد، اون رو به حریمش دخالت کردن یا صدمه زدن، آسیب رسوندن میتونه خیلی جدی باشه و منجر به افسردگی بشه. بنابراین این مسئله هستش که باید واقعا بهش توجه بکنیم، در کامیونیتیتون برنامه ریزی بکنین، بگین که کی میخواین تو اتاق زایمان بیاد، کی میخواین بعد از زایمان اونجا حضور داشته باشه، چه کسانی دوست دارین کمک بکنن و این گفتمان و این آگاهی و این صحبت‌ها و گفتگوها میتونه خیلی تنش رو در خانواده پایین بیاره. البته آگاهی و اون هوشمندی و شعور هم از طرف دیگران و خانواده هم نیازمند هستش. It's also a two-way street. I feel like the extended family also needs to have awareness and be okay with that.
Yes.
Because sometimes setting those boundaries leads to tension and conflict. And,
because they're, in their mind, they just want to help.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Well, I think for everybody, you know, and that's why it should be a discussion. That's why honesty and openness is so important. But we talk about how you have to get rid of the shoulds and the expectations and do what's right for you. You know, like
because that's different.
Should and what to expect it's a very you know, not a very good word because everyone has their individual journey. You know, so if so one person may want tons of visitors and one person may want complete, you know, just alone time with their baby and the partner.
So honor the moms, honor mom's consciousness and compassion, and you'll be fine. Until next time, peace.